There's a real race in the Senate in Ohio, and I'm very much hoping that the Sherrod Brown is finally defeated because the guy's a phony and a fraud. He runs as a moderate, but he's as far out there as Bernie Sanders, and he doesn't represent the people of Ohio. He represents the people of Massachusetts, and we have with us Bernie Moreno, who's putting up a hell of a battle, even though he's being outspent 2 to 3 to 1. Bernie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. We're fighting the fight, and you said it exactly right. This guy, Mark, is out there doing TV commercials that he worked with President Trump, and that he's a moderate. He likes to work with Republicans. Literally the exact opposite. This guy's left of Elizabeth Warren, left of Bernie Sanders. He doesn't even deserve to represent Massachusetts, let alone Ohio.
Isn't it amazing how they lie now? They don't want to run on their records. They smear a guy like you, and then they lie about their own record, and then they spend millions of dollars doing this, right?
Well, they learn from the communists. That's how they do it, because they ran on their actual record and their actual beliefs and their actual policies, much like Kamala Harris. Sherrod Brown would get defeated 80-20 in a state like Ohio. So the only choice they have is to lie. Kamala Harris is taking it to a new art form nationally. Sher Brown has been doing it for 50 years in Ohio.
So how's the race look?
We feel really good about where we are. Polling has us up 1, 2, 3, 4 points. We've got the momentum on our side. But, Mark, what I'm worried about is getting overspent over the last 14 days of this campaign. This guy raises money from California, Massachusetts, New York, and huge numbers. He'll probably raise $15 million this month. He raised $31 last quarter. So if your listeners can go on BernieMoreno.com and throw in a few bucks, we need all the help we can get to make certain that we don't get swamped in the last 2 weeks.
And by the way, you can get that site on my social sites, ladies and gentlemen, BernieMoreno.com. And, if we win Ohio and a few of these other states, we will have this defensive wall no matter what happens. And if Donald Trump's elected president, he'll have a working majority to advance his agenda, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm the 51st seat because our polls close at 7:30. And if we do it right, if your listeners in Ohio go out there and vote early, get their friends to vote early, which is happening right now. In Ohio, we've already had 2 weeks of early voting. Republicans are doing better than Democrats. You heard me right. Republicans are voting in larger numbers in Ohio early than Democrats are. If we do that right, my seat, my race can be called by 8 o'clock Eastern. Let the world take a collective breath knowing that the Republicans will control the Senate.
Bernie Moreno, I've been spending a month here pushing people to vote early, vote early. It's been a mantra here over and over again all over the country. I'm not the only one, but I think it's having an impact because we need to use that system that they created against them and beat them at their own game, right?
Exactly right. And it's working. I mean, obviously, you're a big, loud voice in the conservative movement. That's critically important. So your listeners are paying attention to you, certainly here in Ohio. And, Mark, if you could just indulge me for just a second. To everybody listening, we can't just win by a little bit. The whole world is watching. America has to reject Kamala Harris and Tim Walz resoundingly. It can't be close. This is a free country of liberty, of constitutional principles. The idea that a lunatic, a left extremist, socialist, communist like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz could even get any kind of voting is extremely important for the world to know that we reject it. So everybody listening, go out there and vote. If you don't vote, you're voting for Kamala Harris.
That's right. And you got to vote the whole ticket. We need the presidency, Senate, Congress, and all the rest of it. So we swamp them and surprise them as much as we can. The idea that this guy, Sherrod Brown, has gotten away with lying every election cycle is really astonishing. I guess the media in Ohio, not all, but for the most part, is pretty rough on you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the media in Ohio is personal close friends with Sherrod and his wife, who, by the way, works for the Ohio media. She's employed by Gannett. Gannett owns the 2 largest newspapers in Ohio, TV stations in Ohio, newspapers all over the state. So she helps frame the articles. They know they have to cover for them. They fact-check me and, of course, do no fact-checking on him. And the fact-checks against me are total lies. I'll give you an example. He voted against Tommy Tuberville's bill that said no federal funding for schools that allow men to compete in women's sports. I mean, that's an easy one. Sher Brown voted no. So there's a commercial out there that says Sher Brown wants men to play in women's sports. They say that's not true. It wasn't a vote about sports. It was a vote about funding, Mark. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can. They're pathetic. And now he's running ads saying that he convinced Donald Trump to write some bill and voted for it or something. What is that all about?
He's saying that the Interdict Act, which would stop drug cartels in the border, which, of course, President Trump championed, and that it was a bill that passed 88-12 in the Senate, so he's taking credit for it, said he works with Republicans. Look, he said the border wall was stupid, the border wall was racist, voted to impeach President Trump twice, voted against all three of his Supreme Court nominees and most of his judicial nominees. He stabbed President Trump in the back at every turn for 4 years. And with Biden and Harris, voted with him 98% of the time, but 100% of the time when it mattered. On the key issues, he was right there with Kamala Harris every step of the way. The guy is absolutely a partisan hack, and we're exposing him, Mark, in Ohio, and that's how we're going to win.
And he's another one of these Democrats who pretends to support Israel out of one side of his mouth, but votes for limiting arms and penalties and trashes Netanyahu and all the rest. Isn't he one of them?
Oh, he's worse than them. He's actually right up to the edge of being anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. He's been calling for a ceasefire since the moment.
Oh, like Harris.
October 7th. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, if they're up to these people, Sinwar would still be alive.
Yep.
Hezbollah would be intact. Israel would be in imminent danger beyond what they are right now. Look, my position is very simple with Israel. We're going to have a foreign policy in America that says to Israel, you need to do what you need to do, and we're going to have your back. Take care of business the way you deem necessary. We're not going to micromanage your affairs, and we're going to deal with Iran. And that the rest of it, we're right there. We're going to supply you whatever you need from us. We're going to make happen. Israel is fighting the war that otherwise we would fight. There, according to the terrorists, Israel is the little Satan. We're the big Satan. And thank God for the people of Israel and what they're going through right now.
Talking with Bernie Moreno, who's running for the Senate, the Republican candidate for Senate in Ohio. Remind everybody a little bit of your background, Bernie.
So, Mark, I was born in Colombia, South America. Came here legally with my family when I was a kid. Became a citizen at the first opportunity I could when I was 18 years old. I went into the car business by being able to buy a tiny little underperforming car dealership in Cleveland. Turned that into a group of 15 dealerships that sold about 20,000 cars a year. Sold all of those dealerships. Started a technology company that uses blockchain to make hard titles digital. So we sold software to state governments. Sold that business to run for Senate because I didn't want to have any conflicts of interest. And I'm running for one simple reason. We can't continue to elect career politicians who've never run a business, never even worked in a private sector, like my opponent, never had a job once in a private sector, and yet he's the chairman of the banking committee. And we wonder why this country is in trouble. So the business people of this country have got to step up. That's what I'm doing because I love this country. It gave me every opportunity in the world to succeed.
So you've hired people of all backgrounds and races and so forth and so on. And Sherrod Brown likes to talk the talk and so forth and so on, but he's never had to meet a payroll. You've had to make a payroll. And you've debated him, I take it?
No, he refused to debate me, Mark. So we will not. We will be one of the few Senate races that had no debates. We asked for 8 early in the summer. He asked for 0, and we ended up at 0. He can't stand, Mark, in a debate stage and defend his record. It's indefensible.
That's amazing. You know, the Senate, that's all they ever do is debate. And so he doesn't want to debate you? I mean, that is shocking.
He has a record. Well, he has a record where he voted for the Green New Deal. He voted for EV mandates. Of course, we make more internal combustion engines in Ohio than any other state, more than Michigan. He voted to destroy our auto industry. He's lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs while he's been in D.C. The guy's a total abject disaster, voted with Biden and Harris, like I said earlier, almost 100% of the time. Even you couldn't stand on a debate stage and defend that record.
Mm-hmm. Now, how is it looking in the House races? Do you have any idea? I mean, I know you're focused on your own. I'm just curious.
Well, we have 3 phenomenal potential pickups here in Ohio. We have Derek Marin up in the Toledo area, great candidate. He can get rid of Marcy Kaptur, who's been there for 44 years, God. Way too long. She's terrible. Amelia Sykes, who doesn't even live anywhere near Akron, who's a absolutely useless member of Congress, is running against Kevin Coughlin. That race is super close. And then we have a really phenomenal candidate in the Cincinnati area named Orlando Sanza, young guy, West Point grad. Greg Landsman is a totally useless member of Congress. He's again, one of these anti-Israel guys, big government, liberal. Orlando can beat him. We just need the people in the Cincinnati to step up and help Orlando. He's a great candidate.
Now, you were saying early voting's been pretty good. Are you able in that state to determine who's voting early? Which party?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
what do you see?
We can see. So Republicans are voting a higher clip than Democrats for the first time. I mean, we're way beyond the 2020 numbers of early voting. So Republicans are doing really well. It's halftime, though, and I'm a Browns fan, Mark. We've had lots of times when we're ahead at halftime, and then we didn't win the game. So we got to go out there for the next 2 weeks and vote like this country depends on it, because it does. Go out there and vote. Get your friends to vote. This is no time to be passive. This is the election where being passive and sitting on the sidelines is going to ruin this country. We got to go out there and vote.
It's very important. People need to understand this is the election right now, the next 2 weeks. And early voting in Ohio is still ongoing. And I've said, when you look at the people in western North Carolina, Bernie, who've lost everything, and apparently they're voting in significant numbers, these are great patriots. These are people who want to save the country despite the fact they've lost everything. Some of them have lost family members, and they don't know where their next meal's going to come from. So for the rest of us, it's really not asking too much to vote early, is it?
It's not. It's very quick. It's very easy in Ohio. We require voter ID. It takes 5 minutes. You're in and out of there. Look at what the people before us sacrificed to give us that right to vote, and honor that, and go out there and make it happen. Look, I'm sick and tired of hearing people in America saying that, my vote doesn't matter. It's all rigged. It's not the case. Look, not voting is a vote for socialism and communism, and that's what a vote for Kamala Harris is, and we have to reject it soundly. The world needs to know that America will not go down that road, and they have to be absolutely destroyed at the ballot box, and that's what's going to happen November 5th if we do it the right way.
His name is Bernie Moreno. Be a fantastic senator. My God, 10 steps above Sherrod Brown. Time to retire him after half a century. And Bernie Moreno believes in freedom. He believes in the Constitution. He believes in securing the border, cops, the military. Believes, as the rest of us do, in the Constitution and our system of government. I hope you'll support him. You can go to BernieMoreno.com, Bernie, Moreno.com. If you can help him out, it would be great. That would be a great pickup there, I'm telling you. Bernie, good luck to you, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for everything that you do.
All right. God bless. My God, our candidates are so much better than theirs, don't you think, Mr. Producer? It's not even a close call.